Our friend Cam Salerno joins us. He's with 24/7 Sports News Desk reporter. He's on the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Cam, appreciate you, my man, for joining us, and thanks for the time as always. Is Mike Brown to you Coach of the Year even debatable at this point?
I don't think it's a debate. I mean, he's really taken the team that has been bad for 17 years into a team that is top 3 in the West, which, you know, in years past, the West has been really good, but, you know, separated by, you know, the standings. You look at the standings and it's so close. I mean, the Kings could lose 3 or 4 games in a row and they could somehow be like near the play-in game at this point. Just that's how it is. So I think he's done a tremendous job. I don't think it's a debate. I mean, obviously with Joe Mazzulla, he's done a hell of a job with the Celtics. But at the same time, I mean, they're a team that were in the NBA Finals probably 9 months ago. So, I mean, they have a super talented roster. What Mike Brown's done is incredible, and he definitely should be the winner for Coach of the Year, regardless, honestly, what happens the rest of the way. The Kings could lose in the first game of the play, and I still think Mike Brown should be Coach of the Year.
Since we're starting off on the subject of awards, early in the season, Malik Monk looked like the runaway sixth man of the year, and then that talk kind of quieted down. I know he struggled last night, but he's been on a heater again of late. Where do you think he ranks in sixth man of the year discussion?
I definitely think he's a top 5 candidate. I mean, obviously you have Bennedict Mathurin from Indiana, who's been really good. He's also a Rookie of the Year candidate. I mean, Russ at some point was a guy that, you know, probably was going to be in the mix for the sixth man of the year, especially he was with the Lakers. Now he's obviously with the Clippers and he's starting. And so I think Malik's definitely up there. I mean, Malik is a microwave. I mean, he can come to the game and impact it instantly. And I know a lot of people may wonder, like, hey, why isn't Malik starting when, you know, a guy like Kevin Huerter's out or even De'Aaron's out? I mean, because he's definitely the first guy off the bench. He's the microwave. He can facilitate the offense. He can score. I mean, what was crazy is I looked at the box score from the fourth quarter on Friday's game, and he came in the fourth quarter 15 points in with 45. So he scored 30 points in the fourth quarter in both overtime periods, and he was cooking. And he's just a guy who can get hot. I mean, I think I remember that first Warriors game when they played in San Francisco in October, where that was like his first kind of, you know, big show. I think he had like maybe 16 or 17 points. He was shooting well. He's not afraid to shoot, just like Terrence Davis. So I think he's definitely up there and definitely should be considered. Will he win the award? Probably not, just because he's been inconsistent from time to time, but he's definitely a valuable player on the Kings. I mean, you can't deny the connection that him and De'Aaron have from their time at Kentucky. And it's nice to have a guy like that who can come off the bench and, you know, produce and facilitate and score. I mean, and also he steps up in big moments. I mean, obviously that shot is one of the biggest moments of the Kings season so far.
Cam Salerno with us. Cam, your thoughts on this team's ability to win games that they haven't really won in the past?
I was just talking about this the other day. I mean, you look at the games they've won this year. I mean, the first game that comes to mind is that Cavs game when they played in Cleveland, when I think they were down. I want to say they were down by like 8 or so, like with 4 minutes left, and they went on a 19-0 run to end the game. And there's just so many times this year where teams in the past just don't win those games. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, they've overcome multiple double-digit deficits. I mean, even that Clippers game where they were down by 14 with 4 minutes left, and they still found a way to win. And there's just so many games I look at, and you just look at, like, there's no way a previous Kings team wins this game. And it's just about the adjustments they make. Obviously, that's Mike Brown and his staff. That's the roster's a lot better than years past. And so I think there's a lot of different factors that go into that. But at the same time, like you said, like most of the games that the Kings have won this year that, you know, is probably like a 50-50 game or a game where they overcame a 10-point deficit or even more. I mean, teams of the past maybe win one game like that in years past, like maybe once a year where it's a kind of a fluke. They come back from a 20-point deficit, but this team just keeps winning those games. I mean, they just fight. It's honestly pretty fascinating to see as a fan.
You know, you mentioned 3-4 losses in a row when they could find themselves in the play-in watch rather than the playoff picture. Despite that, we were reading some of the statistical projections on the show yesterday, Cam, and one of them had them at a 98.9% chance to make the playoffs, and I think somewhere above 96% to avoid the play-in tournament altogether. Are you that sure? Are you that certain as the statistical projections might indicate that the Kings are a playoff team?
I would say so. I think I saw something along the lines of if they go 12-9 in the final 21 games, they'll be in the playoffs no matter what any other team does in the standings. And obviously, teams could lose too. You look at the teams who are in the play-in right now: the Mavericks, the Pelicans. I think the T-Wolves are in there too. I mean, they could lose games too, and they could fall out. And the games back could get even farther for those teams. So I think if the Kings finish strong down the stretch, I said after the All-Star break, if they go above 500 or just at 500, I think there's 25 games left. If they go like 13-12 or something along those lines, they were pretty much going to be locked to make the playoffs. But those statistics, I saw those too, and I think fans are already starting to celebrate. But what I tell people too is I think everyone wants to see the Kings make the playoffs. Like if you're a Kings fan or you grew up in Sacramento or any basketball fan, like I think a lot of people just want to see the Kings make the playoffs. But at the same time too, I tell people like enjoy the journey. Like the games they just keep winning, like the Clippers game, obviously the Mavericks game a few weeks ago, the Cavs game, the Jazz game where Herter hit that three. I mean, those are just moments where you just look back. If you're a Kings fan, you're in awe. I mean, those are games they don't win, like I said. And so I think it's important to enjoy the journey of the season. Obviously, the destination is making the playoffs, and Golden One Center just going nuts, and the city of Sacramento getting shut down because everyone's just in the streets partying and such. But this is a special season. This is a special team. I mean, this is something that obviously the city hasn't seen in 17 years. And how I joked about with people is, I think you remember this tweet. I said that, my first season covering the Niners, they went to the Super Bowl. My first season covering Sac State football, they made the FCS playoffs for the first time in school history. First season covering Sac Republic, they made the playoffs. And I was like, maybe the Kings are going to make the playoffs because it's my first season really covering them. And obviously it looks like they're that direction.
Cam Salerno with us. One more for you, Cam. Just Keegan. Keegan's all around development. I know you've had a relationship with the people in Iowa ever since Keegan was drafted last June. His overall development and improvement throughout the year. Cam, what are you thinking now about this dude's ceiling?
I'm beyond impressed with what Keegan's done. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that coming into the draft, maybe I was a little skeptical of. I mean, I think I've pretty much said this. I thought the Kings should have drafted Ivy. Like, this is over the summer. And I think what really kind of changed my mind was Monty McNair's press conference when he talks to the media. And I asked him, like, what's the process like when you're making the fourth pick and probably who's going to be there? Because, I mean, I think everyone knew that Jabari Smith, Paulo, and Chet were going to be the first three players off the board in any order. And so kind of the draft started at 4. So the Kings really knew who's going to be on the board. And so I think when I asked him that, like he said, like we knew who we wanted, and they were very confident about this pick. And so I think everyone kind of really bought it. And then obviously with the summer league, I mean, just the way he performed. I mean, obviously that 29-point performance, the game-tying three against the Magic in the summer league. So I think you really started to see, okay, this guy can really shoot the ball. But I think a lot of stuff with Keegan too is at the beginning of the season, his rebounding wasn't amazing. His defense was still kind of lacking. You can see the potential of what he can do defensively. He struggled on screen navigations, but you look at him now, I mean, he's crashing the glass a lot. I know Domas has talked about how he's really kind of mentored Keegan and helped him in that aspect. I mean, even yesterday, I think he had 13 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. So he's really developing. Obviously, he's going to break the 3-point record by a rookie. I know Donovan Mitchell, I think, had 187 threes made in the season, and Keegan's on track to possibly get 200. And so I think everyone talks about, his shooting, but he's really developing. He's driving the basket. He's obviously crashing the glass more. He's getting better defensively. And so I think Kings fans should be really just thrilled with this pick. And obviously, too, I mean, it's pretty well documented, but I mean, his father and his whole family just are amazing people. And it's drastically different than past Kings fathers who were high draft picks. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I think it comes to mind. I think this was pretty well documented too. Is I think Keegan got benched at the end of I forget what game it was, but he got benched the final 10 minutes of it. And I know his dad made a tweet just saying, like, it's okay. Like, he wasn't good defensively. And I think that was just so refreshing to Kings fans and people because, they're so used to certain people bashing organizations.
Marvin Bagley's dad. Let's just say it. All right. Bagley's dad. Let's throw it out there, Cam. You might not be comfortable. I'll throw it out there for you. We're talking about Bagley's father.
Yeah. But no, Keegan's dad's a great person. I've gotten to talk to him a lot. Just such a nice guy, nice family. And obviously the Iowa fans are amazing. I think they really ride for the Kings and Keegan, and just seeing the Midwest support for him is pretty cool. I mean, whenever anyone talks about Keegan, everyone is just thrilled in Iowa. And I mean, Iowa doesn't have professional sports teams, so everyone's kind of adopted the Kings as, like, if you're not a diehard NBA fan, you still like basketball, which a lot of Iowans do. Like, they've adopted the Kings as their team, and Keegan is that. So maybe we'll see Khris and Keegan on the Kings next year. That would be pretty interesting. I think it definitely could happen because, I think the Kings organization really likes Khris. I mean, hey, they showed Chris's picture on draft night instead of Keegan, so that was pretty funny. But yeah, I think my overall thought is I think the Kings really nailed this pick. And like I said, I was skeptical at first just because, I thought they probably should have taken Ivy over the summer just because, we didn't know how the roster was going to look. And this was pre-trading for Kevin Huerter, pre-signing from Malik Monk. And it's easier to find guards who can really contribute. Like we said,
right.
Signed Malik Monk, who's been amazing off the bench. Huerter, who's been really solid in stretches where he had 20 points last night and he wasn't really doing anything crazy. So I think just nailing that pick and grabbing a stretch four who's having the best 3-point shooting season possibly ever by a rookie and also really developing those trades. I mean, the ceiling could be off the charts.
All right, Cam, thanks, man. We appreciate the time, buddy. Let's do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.